Imagine being publicly humiliated by the very person who destroyed your family, only to turn their own arrogance into the most devastating courtroom karma they've ever faced. This is the story of a father who stayed quiet, stayed patient, and then used the truth to win a battle his ex-wife never expected to lose. And trust me, the moment she realized what he had done is absolutely unforgettable. The story begins with a man named Aaron, a hardworking, soft-spoken father of two who had survived one of the hardest heartbreaks life can offer: betrayal inside your own home. He met his ex-wife Melissa, young and hopeful. They fell fast, married fast, and became parents even faster. But while Aaron was working long military hours, sacrificing sleep, comfort, and time to support his new family, Melissa was sneaking around with not one, not two, but multiple other men. The day Aaron found out, something in him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, like the final crack in a glass that has been under pressure for far too long. And even then, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't get revenge. He did the responsible thing. He filed for divorce. And when the first draft of the divorce agreement got rejected, Aaron's lawyer revised something almost as an afterthought. Visitation changed from every other weekend to every weekend. Aaron never imagined Melissa would sign it, but she did. Without reading, without thinking, without realizing what she had just handed him. At the time, Aaron didn't celebrate. He was too busy surviving, raising infants, dealing with military life, and paying down the mountain of marital debt Melissa had left behind. But that little detail in the custody agreement would later become the very thing that shattered her entire plan. Years passed. When Aaron finally got 3 continuous months with his kids after leaving the Navy, he was excited, thrilled, to reconnect. That excitement turned to horror. His 3-year-old daughter wasn't potty trained. She barely spoke. She had no sense of boundaries or authority. His almost 4-year-old son couldn't walk properly, was afraid of grass, barely ate, and was completely nonverbal. Aaron held them and felt a quiet panic tightening in his chest. How long? How long have they been living like this? He didn't waste a second. 2 therapy sessions every week. Endless practice, patience, tears, and encouragement. And in just 3 months, his daughter was potty trained, speaking in full sentences, and listening to adults. His son was walking, trying words, eating real meals, and exploring the world with cautious joy. It was proof, unshakable proof, of who had been doing the work, and who had not. For nearly 2 years, Aaron worked tirelessly in Illinois to save enough money to move closer to his kids in Texas. He lived with his parents. He paid down the debt his ex left. He scraped and planned and saved. He didn't complain. He didn't lash out. He just worked. Finally, he made it. He moved to Texas with his new girlfriend, another hard-working soul who ended up being a lifeline for those kids. But life isn't a straight line. Money was tight. They lived in hotels at first, then found jobs, then found stability. And even though the custody agreement gave Aaron every weekend, the parents were informally flexible for convenience. Until the day Melissa decided she wanted a fight. It happened on an ordinary day at Aaron's job. A rushed shift. A trainee shadowing him. Customers everywhere. Aaron's girlfriend had the kids with her at work, something her boss had always allowed. But toddlers will be toddlers, and she needed a small break. A mutual friend was asked to watch the kids briefly. The message somehow got forwarded to Melissa. And Melissa exploded. She and her new husband stormed into Aaron's workplace like they were marching onto a battlefield. Their voices were sharp, loud, cutting through the store's buzz and echoing against the shelves. You need to take your kids' well-being more seriously. Inexcusable. I can't believe you'd be so careless. In front of customers. In front of co-workers. In front of a trainee. Aaron felt humiliation burning up his neck. But he stayed composed. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He just thought, all right. You want me to take things seriously? Let's take things seriously. That was the moment everything shifted. That was the moment Aaron decided. No more flexibility. No more favors. No more letting Melissa bend the rules whenever she wanted. She wanted strictness? She was going to get strictness. The next morning, He walked into work with a calm determination his boss had never seen. He explained the situation and said, "From now on, I cannot work during my court-appointed custody times. I will be taking the kids every weekend, exactly as the decree states." His boss nodded. Policies were changed. Schedules adjusted. And then, the message to Melissa. "Hey, you're right. I need to take the kids more seriously. So I'll be picking them up today for my weekend custody. I've already sent the remaining child support balance." Her confusion turned to panic. "What? Why are you doing this suddenly? We have plans this weekend." "You can't just..." Erin's voice stayed level. "I'm following the court order, just like you wanted." She screamed. He stayed calm. His quiet compliance was the one thing she couldn't control. From that day on, Erin and his girlfriend documented everything. Every rash, every injury, every time the kids came back dirty, unbathed, or untreated. Photos, timestamps, doctor notes, therapy progress reports, contradictions in Melissa's statements to state-funded therapists. And every weekend, the list grew longer. He wasn't building a case against her. He was protecting his kids. But Melissa was building her own downfall. Because after a few months of not getting her way, she did exactly what Erin knew she would. She took him to court. She wanted more child support. She wanted less weekend time for Erin. She wanted power. What she got was the most devastating courtroom moment of her life. The courtroom was packed. Melissa had brought family, friends, an entire cheering squad to watch her win. Erin walked in alone. Calm, prepared, quiet. The judge asked for evidence. Melissa gave emotional explanations, stories, excuses. Then it was Erin's turn. He opened his folder, and the truth poured out like a tidal wave. Doctor reports, therapy evaluations, developmental progress comparisons, contradicting statements Melissa had made, photos of untreated rashes, weekend logs with time-stamped evidence. Every page was another crack in Melissa's facade. She tried to interrupt. She tried to explain. She tried to cry. But the truth was louder than her tears. The judge looked from Erin to Melissa and back again. Then came the verdict. Child support? Halved. Custody? Unchanged, except for a tiny adjustment. Melissa's demands? Denied. Every single one. Melissa collapsed into tears. Not the performative kind. The raw kind that comes only when you realize your own actions have just destroyed your plans. Through sobs, she asked Erin, "How could you do this to me?" And Erin, steady, calm, unshaken, simply said, "I was taking things with the kids seriously." Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes the quietest person in the room holds the strongest truth. And sometimes karma shows up wearing a judge's robe. Erin didn't win because he wanted revenge. He won because he showed up for his kids, again and again, when it mattered most.